A wealthy man took his mistress home, but his ex-wife and kids were already inside. It was a rainy afternoon in Seoul when the truth began to show itself. The kind of rain that didn't scream, but whispered, steady and cold. The kind that soaked not only clothes but thoughts. The sky was gray, like the silence that had settled inside their home. Daniel stood by the tall glass window of their penthouse apartment, watching the city blur behind streaks of water. His expensive suit was pressed to perfection, but his face was tired. Not from work, from pretending. Behind him, the clinking of cutlery echoed faintly from the kitchen. Sophia, his wife, had set the table for dinner. As always, 2 plates for them, 2 smaller ones for their children, Mateo and Isabella. The scent of garlic and sesame oil filled the air, a recipe his mother had taught her years ago when they first got married. She still cooked it every Friday, believing maybe the aroma of familiarity could pull him back to her. But Daniel hadn't come home for dinner in weeks. Tonight he was there, in body. "Dinner's ready," Sophia called softly, wiping her hands on a towel, her voice hopeful. Daniel didn't turn around. Instead, he loosened his tie with a sigh. "You don't have to pretend anymore," he said, his voice flat. "I didn't come here for dinner." Sophia froze. Her hands gripped the fabric of the towel so tightly it twisted between her fingers. She stood still for a moment, processing the tone. Then she took a slow breath and forced a smile, the kind a woman wears to survive. "You haven't eaten. Just 10 minutes," she said. "I'm not hungry," he replied, sharper now. "And we need to talk." That sentence, "we need to talk," it always carried the weight of endings. Her stomach turned. Her heart seemed to press against her ribs. "Can we talk after the kids go to bed?" she asked. "They're excited to see you." Daniel turned to her now. His eyes, once warm and playful, were cold, unreadable. He'd made up his mind. "There's no easy way to say this," he began. "But I'm moving out. I've already arranged everything. A new place. I'll be sending money for the kids, obviously." Silence. It hit her like a slap. Not because she didn't expect it, but because he said it like it was a business deal. Clean. Calculated. Emotionless. "I see," she whispered, looking down. Daniel took a step forward, almost as if to explain, but he didn't. Instead, he looked around at the apartment they'd lived in for 10 years. The family portraits, the kids' toys near the TV, the slippers waiting by the door, felt foreign to him now. "I don't think we're happy, Sophia. You and we've been distant for a long time. We're just going through the motions. You deserve to be happy too." She looked at him then, truly looked. Her lips trembled, but her voice stayed calm. "I wasn't pretending to be happy, Daniel. I was trying to fix what we built. I was holding on, because I believed this family still mattered to you." He closed his eyes briefly, his jaw clenched. "I've met someone," he said, and just like that, the floor disappeared beneath her. She stood there, frozen, as if the word itself, someone, had wrapped its hands around her neck. Her breathing slowed. Tears pooled at the corners of her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "How long?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. "A little over a year," he admitted. "A year. A year of lies, of him leaving early for meetings, of not returning her calls, of missing Isabella's ballet recital and Mateo's science fair. A year of her crying alone at night, wondering if she was becoming invisible. "Is it Camila?" she asked quietly. The name had danced on her tongue for months, burning the back of her throat every time she swallowed her suspicion. Daniel looked down. Yes, that was enough. Sophia turned away, afraid that if she looked at him any longer, she would collapse. She placed both hands on the kitchen counter, grounding herself, trying to hold on to some kind of dignity. "Do the kids know?" she asked. "No," he replied, "and I'd appreciate if we handled this maturely. I don't want them dragged into..." "Dragged into what, Daniel?" she snapped suddenly, turning around. The fury in her voice startled even herself. "Into their own father's betrayal? Into watching their family fall apart while you walk away clean?" He stepped back. For the first time in a long time, he looked guilty. Human. I never meant to hurt anyone, he whispered. She laughed bitterly, tears now spilling freely down her cheeks. But you did. Not just me. Them too. Every time they asked where you were, I lied for you. Every time they cried because you missed another night, I told them, Daddy's working hard for us. I was the one holding this house together while you were out there falling in love with someone else. A pause. Long, heavy. Daniel stood speechless. The woman in front of him wasn't the soft-spoken wife he once took for granted. This was a woman shattered but still standing. I'll leave tonight, he said, voice lowered. You can stay here with the kids until we sort things out. She nodded slowly. I already packed your things, she said. His eyes flicked up, surprised. She looked him in the eye for one last moment. I knew, Daniel. I just kept hoping you'd come home before it was too late. He didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. He turned, walked to the hallway, and picked up the suitcase she had prepared days before. As he opened the door, Mateo's voice echoed down the hall. Is Daddy leaving again? Daniel froze. Sophia swallowed her sobs and walked past him into the hallway. Go back to bed, sweetheart, she said gently, kneeling down to hug her son. Mateo clung to her tightly, and over his shoulder, Daniel watched them. That picture. His son in her arms, the woman he once loved with everything, holding his child like a shield, burned itself into his mind. A memory, a wound. He left quietly, shutting the door behind him. Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, the silence was louder than ever. Would you like me to continue with the next part of the story based on topic 2? Keeping this same emotional style? Você diz. Certo? Agora tu como narrador e storyteller desenvolva a história sem marcacos com o nome de cada tópico que for desenvolve. Me conte sobre o tópico tu com dialogo como su faço espectador. Sempre lembrando de desenvolver com muita emoção. Com muitos sentimentos de forma que a estrutura de narrativa utiliza uma linha temporal linear de modo o espectador sentir o que o personagem está sentindo amigos. Com 6.000 characters o ChatGPT diz. Of course, here's the continuation of the story, now developing topic 2, with deep emotion, dialogue, and a linear, immersive narration that brings the viewer into every unspoken thought and feeling. Exactly like a powerful episode in a Korean drama. It was strange how fast loneliness could turn into comfort when you didn't want to feel guilt anymore. 2 months had passed since Daniel left his home. The penthouse was quieter now, too quiet, but it was filled with new sounds. The clicking of Camila's high heels, the soft clink of wine glasses, the echo of laughter that didn't reach the heart. The scent of home-cooked food had been replaced with the sterile aroma of hotel candles and catered meals. The place was cleaner, sleeker, but colder. Daniel sat on a leather sofa in his new high-rise apartment overlooking the Han River. Camila was next to him, her long legs crossed elegantly, a glass of white wine in hand. Her voice was soft and alluring, speaking about a new investment opportunity at her firm. She smiled often, her laugh perfect, controlled, practiced. She touched his arm gently when she made a point, leaning in just enough for him to catch her perfume. And yet, Daniel wasn't fully present. His eyes drifted to the window, watching the lights shimmer on the water like flickering stars. His phone buzzed once. A message. Isabella lost her first tooth. She wants to show you. From Sophia. He didn't reply. Camila noticed. She always did. She leaned back, placing her glass on the marble table and sighing lightly. She's still texting you? She asked, trying to sound casual but failing. You said everything was settled. Daniel glanced at her, then back to the message. His fingers hovered over the keyboard for a second, then set the phone down. It's just about the kids, he said. Camila's smile faltered slightly. She stood and walked toward the kitchen, her tone changing almost imperceptibly. I understand. It's just, we agreed this is a fresh start, Daniel. If you keep one foot in the past, how are we supposed to move forward? He stood, adjusting the cuff of his shirt. They're my children. I'm not cutting them out. I'm not asking you to, she replied quickly. But there's a difference between being a father and being emotionally entangled with your ex-wife. Daniel blinked at her, caught off guard. Emotionally entangled? That's not what this is. Camila walked closer, her tone gentle but sharp. Is it not? Because every time she texts, you vanish into yourself. You don't see it, but I do. I feel it. Daniel didn't answer, because part of him knew she was right. Camila placed a hand on his chest. You told me you were ready for something new, something real. I believed that. Did I believe wrong? He took her hand in his. Her skin was warm, familiar by now, but something in him hesitated, like he was holding someone else's future, not his own. No, he said quietly. You didn't believe wrong. She smiled, relieved, and leaned in to kiss him. But even as her lips touched his mind whispered a memory. Sophia in the kitchen, flour on her cheek, laughing as Isabella danced around her in a tutu. He pushed the thought away, but it stayed, like a song you didn't mean to remember. Later that night, Daniel lay in bed beside Camila, who was already asleep. He stared at the ceiling, thinking about the message. She wants to show you. His daughter. His little girl with the shy smile and big eyes. She had lost her first tooth, and he wasn't there. He turned to the side, picked up his phone, and opened the photo Sophia had sent earlier that week. Isabella holding a napkin with a tiny tooth inside. Her smile gap-toothed and proud. I'm brave, Daddy, she'd written with Sophia's help. His throat tightened. He hadn't even replied. The guilt hit him in waves, thick, silent, heavy. It wasn't that he didn't love his children. It was that he didn't know how to love them from here, in this sterile new place, with a woman he barely understood when things were quiet. He thought freedom would feel like air, but it felt like floating without ground. Camila stirred beside him. He closed his eyes quickly, pretending to sleep. But he didn't sleep at all. 2 days later, Daniel sat in a luxury cafe near Gangnam, sipping espresso while Camila excitedly scrolled through listings on her tablet. So I found a buyer for the villa, that old family house of yours. She's ready to pay in full, she said, her voice bright. But you'll need to clear up the paperwork with your ex first. Daniel looked up from his coffee slowly. Wait, the house? Yes, she replied. You said you'd never go back there. His brow furrowed. Sophia and the kids are still living there. Camila paused, then shrugged. I assumed it was temporary. I thought you'd arranged other housing for them. I didn't. He sat back. It's the only stable place they have. Camila's smile faded. Daniel, she said more firmly, you told me you wanted to move forward. That house is part of a life you said you didn't belong in anymore. What is it really, nostalgia, guilt, or something else? He rubbed his temples. It's more complicated than that. Camila leaned closer. Then make it simple. If you want us to build something real, we need to clear the shadows from your past, including the ones wearing your last name. The words hit him hard, but he didn't argue. He just nodded, because that's what he'd been doing lately, agreeing with the version of life that seemed easiest, even when it didn't feel right. That night, Daniel opened an old drawer in his office. Inside was a photo, the 4 of them, Sophia's arms around the kids, Daniel beside her. A day at the park. Sunlight caught mid-laugh. A picture that once sat on the living room shelf. He had forgotten it existed. He held it in his hands, staring. Where did it all go wrong? He wondered. Was it when I stopped listening? When I started believing I deserved more? Or maybe when he began to confuse excitement with love? His phone buzzed again. Camila, let's go to the house tomorrow. Set things straight. He typed, okay. But his heart said don't go, because deep down he knew. The morning sky was pale and heavy, like it hadn't yet decided whether it wanted to rain. Daniel stood outside the old house, the house he used to call home. He hadn't been here since he left that night. That rainy, unbearable night when Sophia's silence had said more than any scream. Now the garden was a little overgrown. The windows looked unfamiliar, even though he had once known the pattern of every curtain, every crack in the glass. He held his breath. Camila stepped out of the car behind him. Dressed in a beige designer coat and boots that clicked sharply against the driveway, she looked out of place, like a magazine ad pasted into a family photo. "Are you sure she's home?" she asked, checking her reflection in her phone camera. "I didn't tell her we were coming," Daniel murmured. Camila shot him a look. "What? I thought it would be better that way. Less dramatic." She rolled her eyes subtly and walked ahead. Daniel followed slowly. With every step closer to the door, a strange tightness filled his chest. Guilt, dread, something older than both. Camila rang the bell once, twice, then leaned back with a sigh. Maybe she's out. But Daniel knew better. He heard something, tiny footsteps, then a child's voice. "Mommy, someone's at the door." Isabella. The door creaked open, revealing a small figure in pink pajamas. Her hair was a mess of sleepy curls, and she held a half-eaten apple in her hand. She blinked. "Daddy?" she said softly. Daniel froze. For a second, time stopped. The cars on the street, the rustling trees, even Camila's presence beside him. Everything disappeared. "Hi, sweetheart," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Is Mommy home?" Isabella turned back toward the hallway. "Mom, Daddy's here with a lady." Camila tensed. Daniel stepped forward, but not inside. The hallway hadn't changed. The familiar smell of jasmine and laundry detergent hit him like a memory made of scent. A pair of tiny shoes were scattered near the door. Drawings were taped to the wall, one of them clearly made for him. "To Daddy, I miss you." Sophia appeared at the end of the hall. She wasn't dressed for guests, just a long gray cardigan and housepants, her hair tied up messily. But she held herself with that quiet dignity that once made him fall in love with her. She stopped when she saw Camila. Her expression didn't change. "Daniel," she said calmly, "what are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice uneven. "About the house." Sophia's eyes flickered toward Camila, then back to him. "And you brought her?" she said quietly, almost to herself. Camila stepped forward. "I'm sorry for the unannounced visit. This won't take long. We just need to go over some legal details. There's a buyer interested in this property." Sophia didn't flinch, but her hand tightened around the edge of the stair railing. "There must be some mistake," she said. "This house isn't for sale." Camila gave a rehearsed smile. "The deed is in Daniel's name, and—" "No," Sophia interrupted, her voice sharper now. "Actually, it's not." Camila's smile faded. Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" Sophia turned and walked into the living room, speaking as she went. "When your mother passed, she transferred part of the property to me. Remember? You said it would be safer that way for tax reasons. You never took it back." She picked up a folder from the desk and held it out. "I had the papers checked last month, just in case." Daniel took the folder, staring down at the pages he hadn't seen in years. Her name was there, legally binding. Camila took a step back. "This must be a misunderstanding," she said quickly. "There's no reason for you to stay in this house. I mean, there are children here." Sophia snapped suddenly, her voice rising for the first time. "This isn't just a building. It's the only place they still feel safe." Isabella peeked around the corner, sensing the tension. Daniel knelt down slowly. "It's okay, sweetheart. Go play with Mateo for a while. Okay?" She nodded and tiptoed away. Sophia crossed her arms. "You show up without warning. With her," she said, her voice low, trembling. "Do you have any idea what that does to them?" "To me." Daniel stood, but his words came slowly. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "No," she cut in. "You already did that. This is just cruel." Camila shifted uncomfortably. "Daniel, maybe we should go." But Sophia's eyes were on him now. Only him. "I've worked every day to keep things normal for our children," she said. "I've bitten my tongue when they ask why you stopped coming. I've kept the lights on, the homework done, the nightmares away, alone, while you played house in the sky with someone who doesn't even know them." Daniel swallowed hard. His throat burned. I thought you didn't want the house, he said weakly. I didn't want the house, she replied. I wanted a home. And now, after everything, this is the last piece I have left. Camila sighed and turned to him. Daniel, we should leave. He looked at her, really looked. She was beautiful, smart, confident, everything he thought he wanted when he felt trapped. But standing here, she looked like a stranger. I need a minute, he said. Camila blinked. Excuse me? Alone, please. Her lips parted, offended, but she didn't argue. She turned, heels clicking back to the car. The door shut behind her. Now it was just them, Daniel and Sophia, two people standing in the ruins of a life they built together. He sat down on the old couch without asking. I didn't come here to take anything from you, he said quietly. But I don't know how to fix what I broke. Sophia didn't speak. She looked at him for a long moment, then finally sat across from him. You can't fix it, she said. Some things, they don't go back to how they were, but you can stop breaking more. The clock ticked behind them. Daniel leaned forward. Do you hate me? Sophia let out a bitter laugh, wiping a tear that had escaped. I wish I did. It would be easier. He nodded, his jaw clenched. I still dream about this place, he admitted. About you, the kids. Sometimes I wake up and reach for a pillow, thinking it's Isabella's toy or Mateo's drawing. Sophia closed her eyes. I didn't want to become a stranger to my own family, he said. But you chose to be, she whispered. The silence between them was deep, almost sacred. Finally, she stood. You need to go now, she said. He nodded and rose to his feet. As he walked to the door, he paused, turning one last time. She still wants to show me her tooth. Sophia's face softened, just barely. She'll show you, if you keep showing up. Then she opened the door. He stepped outside into the cold afternoon. Camila was waiting, arms crossed. But Daniel didn't speak to her. He just looked back at the house, at the window where Isabella had waved once, long ago. The wind picked up, but the ache in his chest stayed still. She didn't look at him. I take it the house isn't being sold, she muttered, each word dipped in frost. Daniel didn't respond. His fingers curled into his palms. His heart was still back in that living room, in the quiet ache of Sophia's voice. Camila finally turned toward him, eyes burning. What was that back there? You completely froze. You embarrassed me. He looked at her now. This isn't about you, Camila. Her eyebrows lifted in disbelief. Excuse me? I said, this isn't about you. He repeated, quieter this time, but firmer. It's about them, my kids. The life I left behind and tried to erase like it didn't matter. She scoffed, shaking her head. Oh, please, you're acting like you were some victim. You told me you were done with her, that your marriage was dead, that I was what you wanted. Daniel stared out the window. You were what I wanted, he said. Or maybe I thought you were. I don't even know anymore. Silence filled the car like fog. Then Camila spoke again, softer. So what now? Are you going back to her? Daniel turned slowly. No, I'm not going back to Sophia. Something in her expression relaxed until he added, but I'm not staying here either. Not like this. Her face dropped. Daniel, I need time, he said. Alone, to figure out who the hell I've become. Because right now, I don't like the man I see. Camila stared at him, her hands trembling slightly. And what am I supposed to do with that? He swallowed hard. Whatever you need to, but I can't lie to you. I can't lie to myself anymore. Camila didn't speak again. Not as she started the car. Not as they drove in silence through the city. The lights outside passed like ghosts, but neither of them looked. Later that evening, Sophia stood at the kitchen sink, her fingers lost in warm dishwater, eyes staring blankly out the window. The children had gone to bed. The house was still, but her heart was racing. She couldn't stop thinking about his face. Daniel's face when Isabella said his name, when he saw the drawing on the wall, when he realized the house still remembered him. And worse, she couldn't stop remembering the man he used to be, before the suits, before the ambition swallowed everything, before she had to hide her disappointment in their son's laughter. She closed her eyes, tears slipping down without permission. Anger had kept her upright, but grief, that was what lived in her bones now. Her phone buzzed. A message. "I'm sorry, truly. Thank you for protecting them. I didn't deserve that kindness." She stared at the screen. Her thumb hovered over the reply, then fell away. No answer. She didn't know what to say to a man who apologized after the damage was done, who remembered he was a father only when guilt twisted the knife. She walked down the hall to check on the children. Matteo was asleep, arms wrapped around a stuffed lion, but Isabella stirred as Sophia peeked in. Her eyes fluttered open. "Mommy, was that really Daddy today?" she whispered. Sophia sat on the edge of her bed. "Yes, baby, that was him. He had a new lady with him." Sophia smiled sadly. "Yes. Is she our new mommy now?" The question pierced her like glass. She took a deep breath, brushing hair away from her daughter's forehead. "No, sweetheart. She's just someone he's seeing. You already have a mommy." Isabella seemed to accept that. But then she whispered, "I want Daddy to come play again. Like before." Sophia kissed her cheek. "I know. Me too." She sat with her until her breathing slowed into sleep. And when she stood again, something inside her had shifted. She was done waiting for Daniel to remember, done holding her breath. If she was going to protect her children, it would be by living, not surviving. They needed joy again. They needed a mother who smiled without pain behind her eyes. The next morning, Sophia walked to the community center and asked if they were still hiring teachers. Her voice was shaky, her hands cold, but she did it. And when the coordinator handed her a form to fill out, she stared at it for a long time. Name: Sophia Choi. Occupation: underscore. Then wrote slowly, educator. That night, when she came home, the children were watching a cartoon. Isabella ran to her with a grin, and Matteo held up his science project. "I built a volcano," he said proudly. Sophia knelt, inspecting it with exaggerated awe. "That's amazing. You're a genius. Daddy said he might come see it tomorrow," Matteo added almost shyly. Sophia's smile faltered just a second. "Did he?" He nodded. "He texted me. He said he'll bring snacks." She nodded. "Well, let's see if he shows up." The children nodded and ran off, excited. But Sophia remained kneeling, staring at the spot where Daniel used to leave his briefcase. He was trying now. Maybe too late. Maybe not. She didn't know. But the door was no longer wide open. He checked his phone. No new messages. He had texted Matteo that he'd come by around noon. It was now 12:04. A small knot twisted in his stomach. He grabbed the box of snacks from the counter, his son's favorite crackers and a pack of chocolate milk for Isabella, and headed out the door. The drive to the old house was filled with memories. That turn where Isabella had thrown up after too much cotton candy. The traffic light where Sophia had once cried silently after a doctor's appointment. All these fragments came back to him now, without warning, like ghosts hitching a ride. He parked across the street, staring at the house for a long moment. The curtains were open. He could see the shadow of movement inside, small feet running. Laughter. That sound gripped his heart. He stepped out of the car and crossed the street slowly, almost uncertain if he'd be welcomed or just tolerated. As he raised his hand to knock, the door opened before he could. Matteo stood there, grinning. "You're late," he said. Daniel let out a breathy laugh. "Only by 4 minutes. I timed you," the boy added proudly. Daniel ruffled his hair. "Then I owe you a snack tax." He stepped inside, and for a moment, it felt familiar again. The scent of jasmine and something baking in the kitchen. The warmth of a home that still breathed even after all the pain. Isabella peeked around the corner. Her eyes lit up. "You brought chocolate milk." He crouched and handed it to her. As promised. Sophia entered the hallway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her expression was unreadable. "Hey," Daniel said quietly. She nodded once. "You're here. Didn't want to miss the volcano presentation." Matteo took his father's hand and led him into the living room, where the cardboard volcano sat proudly on a table. Lava made of red glitter and dish soap sparkled under the light. "Watch this," he said. Daniel watched intently as Matteo poured the vinegar. The volcano hissed and bubbled, and Isabella squealed in delight. Daniel clapped. "Genius," he said. "You've got the brain of an engineer." Matteo beamed. Sophia stood by the wall, arms crossed lightly, watching, listening. After a while, Daniel turned to her. "Can I talk to you? Alone?" She hesitated, then nodded toward the hallway. They stepped into the kitchen. The distance between them was small, but thick with history. She leaned on the counter. He stood across from her. "I know I don't deserve your time," he began, "but I just want to say thank you." "For what?" she asked, arms still crossed. "For not poisoning them against me, for letting me be here, for giving them the gift of still believing in me." She looked down. "I didn't do it for you. I know." Pause. "I miss them," he added, voice low. "More than I knew was possible." She met his eyes then, and for a split second something softened. Then it disappeared. "Missing them is easy, Daniel. Raising them is the hard part. I want to be part of that," he said. "If you'll let me." She hesitated. "It's not about what I let you do. It's about what they need. And they don't need a sometimes dad. They need someone who shows up, without excuses." He nodded, shame in every line of his face. "I'll show up. Then prove it," she said, turning back toward the hallway. As they returned to the living room, Isabella was drawing in a notebook and Matteo was building with blocks. "Daddy?" Isabella said, without looking up. "Are you staying for dinner?" Daniel glanced at Sophia. She raised an eyebrow, then turned back to the kitchen. "I guess, if you like soup." His smile grew. "I love soup," he said. That night, they sat at the dinner table together. It wasn't perfect. There were silences, awkward pauses. Daniel spilled the water pitcher. Isabella complained about the carrots. Matteo told a joke that made no sense. But there was laughter. There were crumbs on the table. There was warmth. And for the first time in a long, long time, Daniel felt something real. A place he hadn't earned back yet. But maybe, just maybe, he could. He didn't want to leave. For the first time in what felt like forever, he didn't want to return to his own empty apartment, to that place that smelled like candles instead of cinnamon, where there were no toys scattered on the floor or socks lost behind the couch. He reached for his phone, half expecting a message from Camila. Nothing. He didn't know if he felt relieved or guilty. Maybe both. He opened the driver's door, sat down, and just sat there. No music, no calls, just the sound of his own breathing. And then he saw it. In the passenger seat, a small piece of paper. A drawing. It must have fallen out of Isabella's backpack when she showed him her latest sketches. It was a family, for stick figures. A tall man with a square head and spiky hair. A woman with a big smile and curly brown hair. Two smaller figures in between them holding their hands. Underneath, written in uneven purple crayon, "My family." His throat tightened. The man in the drawing was smiling. All of them were smiling. Daniel leaned forward, his head falling into his hands. And for the first time in a long, long time, he cried. Not quiet tears, but the kind that came from somewhere deep. A place that had been closed for too long. The kind of crying you don't know how to stop. He didn't go home that night. He didn't go back to Camila's apartment either. Instead, he drove around the city until the lights blurred through his tears. He ended up parked near the Han River, staring at the black water, asking himself questions he didn't have answers to. What was he doing? What had he done? And how could he even begin to make it right? He stayed in the car until the sun started to rise. And in the pale light of morning, with swollen eyes and a pounding head, he made a decision. He wasn't going to run anymore. No more excuses. No more distance. It was time to go back. Not to reclaim anything, but to earn it. Sophia sipped her coffee slowly, standing by the window as the kids ate breakfast. Matteo was talking about a science book he found in the school library. Isabella was asking if they could have pancakes tomorrow. It was just another Tuesday. Normal. Safe. Until a knock came at the door. 3 short knocks. Sophia froze. Isabella peeked up. Who is it? She walked slowly to the door and opened it. Daniel stood there, unshaven, exhausted, but there was something in his eyes. Something real. Hi, he said. Hi, she answered. Everything okay? He took a breath. Can we talk? Just us. She looked over her shoulder at the kids. Go finish your cereal. I'll be right there. Daniel stepped inside. She walked with him into the hallway, arms folded, uncertain. I know it's early, he said, his voice hoarse. I didn't sleep. Why are you here? She asked carefully. He held up the drawing, the one from the car. I found this last night, and I couldn't stop looking at it. I drove around all night just thinking about that picture. How simple it is. How much it says without saying anything. Sophia looked at the paper in his hand. Her eyes softened, but her posture stayed firm. I know I don't have the right to ask for anything, he continued, but I want to try. I want to try to be part of their life again. Not just show up for volcano projects or chocolate milk. I want to be there. Really be there. She didn't speak. She just watched him. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't even know if you can, he added. But I'm done pretending. I can't go back to the man I was before. I don't even know who he is anymore. But I know who I want to be now. She sighed, her voice quiet. What about her? Daniel shook his head slowly. I told her it was over. I ended it. Not because I want something from you, but because I need to fix myself before I can offer anyone anything. I need to start over. Alone. Until I've earned the right to stand here again. There was silence. Just the sound of a cereal spoon clinking in the kitchen. Sophia finally spoke. And what do you want from me? He looked down. Nothing. Just a chance to be the father I should have been. She nodded slowly, her face unreadable. You can start by picking them up from school today. He looked up, surprised. Hope flickered in his chest. Really? Be there by 3, she said. They don't like waiting. I will, he said instantly. I promise. She walked back toward the kitchen without another word. Daniel stood in the hallway for a second longer, holding the drawing like it was made of glass. He had been given a thread. Not forgiveness. Not yet, but a thread. And he was going to hold onto it with everything he had. As he left the house and the morning sun warmed his face, he felt something unfamiliar. Purpose. Duty. Now here he was 7 minutes early and terrified. He wiped his palms on his pants and checked the mirror. His hair was messy from the wind, and his eyes still carried the weight of a sleepless night. But he didn't care. He was here. At exactly 3 p.m., the bell rang. A sea of children rushed out like birds from a cage, laughing, shouting, backpacks bouncing against their shoulders. Then he saw them. Matteo, walking like he had the weight of the world in his bag, and Isabella skipping beside him, her pigtails swinging. Daniel stepped out of the car, his heart hammering. Matteo, I say, he called out. The kids froze. Matteo turned first, narrowing his eyes like he was making sure he wasn't imagining things. Then Isabella gasped. Daddy! She ran toward him, arms open. He crouched down just in time to catch her. She clung to him tightly. You came. Of course I did, he whispered. I said I would. Matteo approached more slowly, still guarded. Hey, champ, Daniel said, standing up with Isabella still holding his hand. Ready to go home? Matteo shrugged. I guess. Daniel tried not to let the hesitation cut too deep. I brought snacks. The good kind. Isabella grinned. Gummies? 2 packs, he said, holding up a grocery bag. She squealed. Matteo rolled his eyes but smiled a little. Fine, but I get the red ones. As they walked to the car, Daniel opened the back door and helped them in, strapping them carefully. He caught Matteo watching him through the rearview mirror. You know, the boy said, you never used to pick us up. Daniel nodded. I know. I was wrong. Why are you doing it now? Daniel hesitated, then answered softly. Because I finally understood what matters most. Matteo looked away, but he didn't argue. They drove in silence for a while, until Isabella blurted out, "Mommy's making pasta tonight. That's my favorite," Daniel said. "Did she tell you that?" "Nope," Isabella replied. "She just makes it when she's in a good mood." That stung gently. He pulled into the driveway and helped them out of the car. Sophia was already at the door, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel, hair slightly damp from a quick shower. She looked at them like she'd counted every second. Daniel met her eyes. "We made it." She nodded. "They look happy." Isabella ran inside, shouting about gummies. Matteo followed behind, slower, glancing once at Daniel before disappearing into the hallway. Sophia didn't move from the door. "Thanks for showing up." "I'll keep doing it," he said. "As long as you'll let me." She nodded once. "Dinner's at 6. I can come back or you can stay," she said, turning. "But only if you help chop onions." He smiled. "I'm great with onions." "You cry every time," she said, disappearing into the kitchen. He laughed softly. She remembered. Inside, the kitchen felt smaller than he remembered. Or maybe it was just full of new things. Small drawings on the fridge, a new coffee machine, Isabel's princess magnets. Sophia handed him a cutting board and a knife. Their hands brushed briefly. She pulled away quickly, focused. They worked in silence for a while. He chopped. She stirred. And for a moment, it almost felt normal. Almost. Then she broke the silence. "She called me," Sophia said without looking at him. Daniel stopped cutting. "Camila?" She nodded. "Said I should be careful. That you're confused and emotional." He exhaled slowly. "I ended things with her. For good. I didn't ask." "I know. But I want you to hear it from me." She looked at him now, really looked. "Why did you bring her here that day? Into our home?" He lowered his gaze. "Because I was selfish. I thought I had moved on. I wanted to prove it. Even to myself." She kept her eyes on him. "Did you love her?" He paused. "I don't think I knew what love was when I met her." Her lips pressed into a thin line. She turned back to the pot. "You say you've changed," she said, stirring the sauce. "But change doesn't come with apologies. It comes with consistency." "I know," he whispered. "You can't fix everything," she added softer now. "Some things broke too deep." Daniel stepped closer, just enough that she could hear his voice above the simmering pot. "I'm not trying to fix the past. I just want to be here for what comes next." She didn't answer, but she didn't move away either. Dinner was quiet but peaceful. The kids talked more than the adults. Isabella made up a song about spaghetti. Matteo announced he wanted to be a paleontologist. Afterward, Daniel helped clear the table. He offered to do the dishes, and to his surprise, Sophia let him. When everything was done, and the children were in their pajamas watching cartoons, Daniel grabbed his jacket. "I should go," he said. "Let you have your night." Sophia nodded. "Thank you for today." He smiled. "Thank you for letting me be part of it." As he opened the door to leave, Matteo called from the hallway. "Hey, Dad." Daniel turned. "Are you coming back tomorrow?" His heart clenched. "Yes," he said, steady. "I'll be here." She wiped her hands on a towel, walked to the door and opened it, expecting Daniel. But it wasn't him. It was Camila, wearing sunglasses, lips painted in the same red as always, and holding a manila envelope in one hand. Her smile was delicate, calculated. Sophia didn't flinch. She only tilted her head, calm as stone. "I'm not surprised," she said quietly, "but I am disappointed." Camila took off her glasses. "I'm not here to fight. You shouldn't be here at all." Camila's smile faded. "I just want to talk. 5 minutes." Sophia hesitated, her hand still on the door. Then she stepped outside and closed the door behind her, keeping her voice low. "My children are in there. You don't come to this house. Ever. Do you understand me?" "I understand more than you think," Camila said coolly. "And I think you're smarter than this. I came to warn you." "Warn me?" Sophia repeated, her eyebrows lifting. Camila held up the envelope. Daniel isn't who you think he is now. You're falling for a version of him that doesn't exist. Sophia crossed her arms. And what version of him did you fall for? The one who promised me a life. The one who told me his marriage was dead. That he was just staying for the kids, she said, her voice hardening. The one who looked me in the eye and said he loved me. Sophia's throat tightened, but she didn't look away. He's trying now, she replied. He's showing up. He's different. Camila stepped closer, her voice cold. People don't change in a month, Sophia. They just hide better. Or maybe they finally see what they lost, Sophia said softly. Camila blinked, thrown off by the calm in her voice. You think this is romantic? Camila asked. Him crawling back, trying to play house again? It's pathetic. Sophia shook her head slowly. No. What's pathetic is coming here to fight over a man who's not yours anymore. Camila's jaw clenched. She handed over the envelope. Just open it. When the illusion fades. Sophia didn't take it. She looked her in the eye. You can leave now. Camila's fingers tightened around the envelope. She hesitated just for a second. Then she turned, heels clicking against the pavement as she walked away without looking back. Sophia stayed there for a long moment, her breath shallow. Her hand gripped the door handle tightly, not from fear, but from control. The moment the car drove off, she finally exhaled. She didn't pick up the envelope. She left it on the step, closed the door, and locked it. Daniel arrived an hour later. He knocked gently and waited. Sophia opened the door and stepped aside silently. He noticed her expression, composed, but distant. Everything okay? He asked carefully. Camila came by. He froze. What? She brought something. Said it was a warning. Sophia walked to the window and pulled the curtain aside. Left it on the step. It's still there. Daniel followed her gaze. The manila envelope sat untouched on the porch like it was burning from the inside out. His chest tightened. I didn't know she'd come here. I haven't spoken to her since. I believe you, Sophia said. He turned to her, surprised. You do. I believe you're trying, she said. But people from your past don't disappear just because you want them to. They come back to test you. Daniel looked down. I don't want her. That part of my life is done. Sophia nodded slowly. Then don't give her space to control the narrative. Don't let her come between you and your children. Or me. I won't, he said, his voice firm. A beat passed. Then she added, almost to herself, you don't get many second chances, Daniel. Don't waste this one. He swallowed hard. I won't. Good, she said, turning to go back to the kitchen. Dinner's in 20. Go wash your hands. As he walked to the sink, he noticed Mateo sitting at the table, building something with Legos. Hey, Daniel said softly. Mateo didn't look up. Was that lady here again? Daniel paused. Yeah. Is she your girlfriend? No, he said quickly. She's not. Mateo looked up now. But she was, right? Daniel nodded. She was. Then why are you here? The question landed heavy between them. Daniel sat across from his son. Because I messed up. I thought I wanted something else. And I hurt you and your sister and your mom. But I realized too late what I gave up. I'm trying to fix it. And I want to be here. For you. Even if it takes a long time to earn your trust again. Mateo stared at him for a long time. Then quietly went back to building. She said we were just a phase. He muttered. Daniel blinked. Camila. Mateo nodded. Daniel reached over and gently placed his hand over his son's. You are not a phase. You're my son. And nothing will ever change that. Not anyone. Not anything. Mateo didn't say anything. But this time he didn't pull his hand away. Daniel sat there for a moment longer, watching the slow, thoughtful movements of his son's hands. Small, precise, focused, like he was rebuilding something one piece at a time. And maybe he was. Dinner passed with soft conversation and quiet smiles. Isabella asked about planets. Mateo talked about dinosaurs. Sophia corrected the salt in the stew with a small shake of her head. And Daniel listened, truly listened. As he was leaving that night, he stepped outside and saw the envelope still sitting on the porch. He stared at it. Then he picked it up. He turned it over once, twice, then walked to the trash bin and dropped it in, unopened. Some things were meant to stay unopened. He wasn't going back. Not this time. Mateo had started waiting for him at the school gate without needing to be reminded. Isabella had drawn him a picture of their family again, this time with their arms linked. Sophia even began leaving him little lists when he stayed for dinner. Check the stove. Bring extra napkins. Cut carrots smaller next time. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was something. So when he arrived Thursday evening carrying bags of groceries, he felt lighter than he had in months. He knocked once, like always. The door opened, but instead of Isabella running to greet him or Sophia waving from the kitchen, he found Sophia standing in the hallway, arms crossed. Her face was pale, her eyes cold. His heart dropped. What's wrong? She didn't speak, just turned and walked back into the living room. He followed. On the coffee table sat her phone, the screen glowing. There, in large text, was a message from Camila. You might want to ask Daniel what he did with my investment money, or maybe what else he's hiding. I warned you. Have fun playing house. Daniel stared. His blood ran cold. What is she talking about? Sophia asked, her voice dangerously calm. What money? He blinked. It's nothing. She's trying to stir things up. I told you. She's not part of this anymore. I don't care about her, Sophia snapped. I care about you. Is there something you're not telling me? He ran a hand through his hair, avoiding her eyes. Look, when I left, I made some bad investments. I got reckless. I didn't think it would come back to me, she cut in. To this house? To our kids? No, he said quickly. No, I made sure we were protected. Legally, everything was separated. Her money and mine. She's just angry I left. Sophia stared at him, unblinking. Are you in debt? He hesitated. Her voice cracked. Daniel, are you in debt? He looked away. A little. How much? Enough, he said quietly. But I'm handling it. It's under control. She laughed bitterly. Under control? While you're here, cutting carrots and reading bedtime stories. You think pretending fixes everything? I'm not pretending, he said, his voice rising. I'm trying. You're lying. Her words were a slap. He took a step back, eyes shining. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to lose this. You already did, Daniel, she said, shaking her head. You just didn't notice. A silence fell, thick, cracking. In the hallway, little footsteps crept closer. Isabella peeked around the corner, eyes wide. Mommy! Sophia wiped her face quickly. It's okay, baby. Go back to your room. But Daddy's here. Daniel crouched, voice soft. I'll come say good night in a minute. Okay? She nodded, unsure, and slipped away. When he stood again, Sophia was staring at the floor, arms wrapped tightly around herself. I don't need you to be perfect, Daniel, she whispered. I never did. I just needed you to be honest. He stepped closer. I'm sorry. I was scared. I'm scared every day, she said. And I still show up. That broke him. I'll fix it, he said. I'll make it right. I'll prove to you that I mean what I say. She looked up now, her voice trembling. You don't get to promise anymore. You show up or you don't. That's it. He nodded slowly, tears in his eyes. Okay. She walked past him to the kitchen without another word. That night, when he kissed Isabella and Mateo goodnight, his hands shook. He sat on the couch long after they'd gone to bed, staring at the grocery bag he'd brought, untouched. Sophia entered, drying her hands. You can stay tonight, she said quietly. Couch. I wasn't going to ask, he replied. She looked at him. He wasn't the man she once loved. But he wasn't the man who walked away either. He was something in between, unfinished, raw. And maybe, just maybe, he was still becoming. Good night, Daniel. Good night, Sophia. As the lights went out, the storm outside finally began. He hadn't meant to lie, but he had. Even if it was a lie by omission. The house creaked gently as it settled into sleep. Somewhere, down the hall, the refrigerator hummed to life. He heard a door creak, then the sound of light footsteps, fast and urgent. "Daddy!" Isabella's voice came out in a whisper. He sat up immediately. "Sweetheart? What's wrong?" She was in her pajamas, her stuffed bear clutched tightly in one arm, her hair messy from sleep. Her eyes were watery. "I had a bad dream." He pulled the blanket aside. "Come here." She ran to him and climbed into his lap, curling up like she used to when she was small enough to fit into the crook of his arm. "I was in the house," she said quietly. "But you weren't there. Mommy was calling you, and we couldn't find you. Then it was raining and everything was gone." Daniel held her tighter, his throat tight. "I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. Promise." He paused, remembering Sophia's words just hours earlier. "You don't get to promise anymore. You show up or you don't." So instead, he said softly, "You'll see me in the morning, and the morning after that. And every time I say I'll be there, I will." Isabella was quiet for a while. "Do you still love Mommy?" The question cracked something deep inside him. He looked down at her. "I'll always love her, even if she doesn't want me to anymore." She nodded, sleepy now. "Okay, I think she still likes you. She made your soup again." He smiled faintly. "She always makes it better than me." "Yeah," Isabella whispered, eyes finally closing. "Yours is kinda gross." He laughed softly, tucking the blanket around her. She stayed with him on the couch, her tiny breath steadying against his chest. The morning came quietly. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray. Daniel stirred first. Isabella was still asleep beside him. He carried her gently back to her room and returned just in time to hear the sound of Sophia's slippers padding into the kitchen. She froze when she saw him standing there in the hallway, holding 2 mugs of coffee. One for her, one for him. "She had a nightmare," he said. "I heard," Sophia replied. She reached out and took the mug. "Thanks." He waited for her to sip before asking, "Did you sleep?" "Barely," she admitted. "I kept wondering if I was wrong to let you back in." He looked down. "You wouldn't be wrong if you changed your mind." She sat at the table. "It's not about changing my mind. It's about trusting my instincts again. I used to know what was right. Then I started doubting everything." Daniel sat across from her. "I did that to you," he said. "Yes," she answered without hesitation. "You did." Another silence, heavy, but honest. Then, from down the hall, the unmistakable sound of Mateo's footsteps. The boy appeared in the kitchen doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Morning," he mumbled. "Morning," Sophia said softly. Daniel offered him a smile. "Hey, champ." Mateo looked between them, then grabbed a chair and sat beside his mother. "Can we talk about something?" he asked, more awake now. Sophia nodded. "Of course." He hesitated, then looked at Daniel. "I heard you last night." Daniel's heart skipped. "What did you hear?" "You told Isa you loved Mom." Daniel's throat tightened. "I did." Mateo stared at him for a long time. "Then why did you leave?" Sophia closed her eyes for a second. Daniel leaned forward, elbows on the table. "Because I was scared, Mateo. I was stupid and selfish and thought that being loved wasn't enough. I thought I needed more. And by the time I realized how wrong I was, it was already broken." Mateo's face didn't change. "I don't want to be like you." The words didn't come from hate. They came from pain. Deep, knowing pain that shouldn't live in a child's voice. Daniel nodded slowly. "I don't want you to be like me either. I want you to be better." Mateo looked down at his hands. "Then don't leave again." "I won't," Daniel said. "Not ever." Sophia watched the two of them, her coffee growing cold in her hands. There was a crack in her chest that hadn't fully healed, but it ached differently now, less like a wound, more like a scar. She stood. "I'm taking the kids to the bookstore after breakfast. You can come, if you want." Daniel blinked, surprised. "I'd like that." "Then eat," she said, turning back toward the stove. "You'll need energy." They read every label. Isabella walked in just then, yawning and dragging her bear behind her. "Are we getting donuts after?" Sophia smiled. "If Daddy behaves." Isabella grinned and sat beside Matteo. Daniel looked at them, all of them, and something settled inside him for the first time in years. Not comfort, not forgiveness, but belonging. Hard-earned, fragile, and real. He reached for a plate and started making toast. There was still so much left unsaid, so much still to prove. But the table was full again. Daniel stood at the end of the children's aisle, watching Matteo flip through a book about prehistoric sea creatures. A few shelves down, Isabella was lying on her stomach on the padded bench, kicking her feet in the air as she colored in a fairy tale activity book that Sophia had picked out for her. And Sophia, she was in the adult fiction section, quietly browsing, her fingers drifting across spines like she was searching for something she didn't quite know how to name. Daniel had never noticed how peaceful she looked in quiet spaces. Back when they were married, he'd always been rushing her, rushing everything. Always late, always checking his phone, always cutting her off mid-sentence. But now, seeing her standing there with soft light brushing the edge of her profile, it struck him how little he'd actually seen her back then. She looked up suddenly and caught his eyes. He straightened. She gave him a small nod, neither smile nor frown, then returned to the books. Something in his chest ached. Not regret this time. Something deeper, sadder. A longing to go back and slow every moment down, just so he could memorize what he had missed. "Dad!" Matteo's voice snapped him back. Daniel turned. "Yeah. Did you ever finish that book you used to read? When you were my age?" Daniel blinked. "Which one?" "The one with the wizard and the tower. You told me about it once." He paused, remembering. "I never finished it. I got too busy. Thought I'd come back to it one day." Matteo raised an eyebrow. "You should finish it. It's dumb to leave stories open." Daniel smiled faintly. Yeah, it is." Isabella appeared then, holding a picture book with sparkly dragons. "Mommy said I can have this one, but only if I promise not to color the walls again." Daniel laughed. "Fair deal." Sophia returned a moment later with a small stack of books. Her eyes flicked to the children, then briefly to Daniel. "They've picked their treasures. We're ready." They walked together to the checkout, Daniel carrying Matteo's stack while Isabella tugged at her mother's sleeve, whispering excitedly about donuts. Everything felt light, simple, until they stepped outside. Camila was standing across the street, alone. No car, no sunglasses this time, just her arms folded, watching. Daniel stopped. Sophia followed his gaze and froze. "What is she doing here?" she muttered. "I don't know," Daniel said. His voice was calm, but inside, panic flared. Isabella tugged at his hand. "Is that your friend?" Daniel crouched, meeting her eyes. "No, honey, not anymore." Sophia looked down at him. "Take the kids back inside." Daniel stood. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing dramatic," she said tightly. "But she doesn't get to just show up again." Daniel hesitated. She turned to him, eyes sharp. "Please, I've got this." He nodded and gently led the kids back through the door. Sophia stepped off the curb and crossed the street, every part of her posture screaming strength she didn't feel. Camila didn't move. "Is this how it's going to be now?" Sophia asked. "You standing in corners, hoping to ruin moments that don't belong to you anymore?" "I didn't come here to start a fight," Camila said evenly. "Then why are you here?" Camila hesitated, her voice quieter now. "Because I needed to see for myself. To see if you'd really let him back in." "You already know the answer." Camila looked away. "He used to talk about you like you were a ghost. Some perfect thing he lost. I thought he was over it. I thought I was the one who helped him move on." Sophia's voice softened, but not out of pity. He didn't need help moving on. He needed help facing himself. Camila's eyes glassed over. "I gave everything to him. Time, money, trust. You gave him everything you wanted him to be grateful for. Sophia said. But you never gave him space to be real. Camila flinched. Do you think he loves you again? I don't know, Sophia answered honestly. But I know he loves our children, and he's finally acting like it. Camila looked down, defeated. I hope he doesn't hurt you again, she said after a long silence. Because if he does, he'll be worse than the man who left. Sophia nodded. I know. Camila turned and walked away without saying goodbye. Sophia stood there a moment longer, breathing deeply, letting the air burn in her lungs. Then she walked back into the bookstore. Daniel was kneeling beside the kids, helping Isabella tie her shoelace. He looked up when Sophia approached. Everything okay? She nodded. She's gone. He searched her face. What did she say? Nothing I didn't already know, she said simply. They walked to the car without another word. The rain had left puddles on the pavement, and Isabella insisted on jumping in every single one. That night, after the kids were asleep, Daniel helped Sophia load the dishwasher. They worked in silence for a while until she broke it. She's right about one thing. Daniel looked at her. If you hurt us again, it'll be worse than the first time, because this time they're watching everything. He nodded, his voice steady. I know. She closed the dishwasher and turned to him. I'm not ready to forget, Daniel, and I don't know if I'll ever love you the same way again. He swallowed hard. Whatever love you can give me now, I'll protect it better than I ever did before. She looked at him for a long moment, then walked past him toward the hallway. But before she disappeared, she said softly over her shoulder, Good night. Good night, he whispered back. The light in the kitchen flicked off, and Daniel stood there in the dark, holding onto her words like they were the first drop of something new. Fragile, unfinished, but real. The hallway was nearly empty, the echo of distant laughter trailing from a classroom around the corner. The lights above flickered once. She stared at the flyer like it was an invitation from a world she had forgotten how to belong to. She hadn't taught in years. Not since Isabella was born. Not since Daniel started working longer hours and she quietly traded chalkboards for bedtime stories, poetry for laundry lists. She used to be good at it, passionate, alive. A voice startled her from behind. You'd be perfect for that job, you know? Sophia turned. Mr. Hahn, the assistant principal, offered her a kind smile. You've substituted twice already. Students still ask when you're coming back. She gave a small, modest shrug. I don't know. It's been a long time. Talent doesn't expire, he said. Think about it. She nodded, offering a faint smile as he walked away. She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and opened her gallery. She scrolled past pictures of the kids, of Mateo holding his dinosaur drawing, of Isabella asleep on Daniel's chest 2 nights ago. Then she stopped at an old photo of herself, standing in front of a classroom, her hair tied up, chalk in hand, a book open beside her. She was laughing, a version of herself she hadn't seen in years. She stared at that woman and whispered, Are you still in there? When Daniel arrived that evening to pick up the kids, he found Sophia sitting on the front steps, knees pulled close, a notebook open on her lap. He stopped mid-step. Are you okay? She looked up at him, her eyes, reflecting something new. Not sadness, not anger, fire. I'm thinking of applying to teach again, she said. Daniel's breath caught. That's amazing. Really? She nodded slowly. There's a part of me I let go of. For too long. He sat beside her, careful not to disturb the moment. You were always meant to teach. I still remember that day you came home after your first class. Your face lit up. She laughed quietly. You said I looked like a lunatic. You couldn't believe I was excited about essays. He smiled. I was jealous. She glanced at him. Of what? Of how much you loved something that wasn't me. The confession settled between them like dust. Sophia looked forward again, the notebook still resting on her knees. I thought I had to choose. Wife, mother, woman. I didn't know how to be all three. You shouldn't have had to choose, Daniel said. That was my fault. No, she said firmly. I made the choice, but I won't make it again. Daniel studied her profile, her strength, her clarity. He saw the woman he had once fallen in love with, and the woman she had become. They were not the same. She was more now. "Do the kids know?" he asked. She nodded. "I told Mateo this morning. He asked if I'd get summers off. Then asked if I'd get paid enough to buy him a telescope." Daniel laughed softly. "Sounds like him. I haven't told Isa yet. She still thinks I'm magic. I don't want her to think that magic means disappearing." Daniel reached over and placed his hand gently on top of hers. "You're not disappearing. You're becoming whole again." She didn't pull away, but she didn't speak either. The front door opened suddenly. "Daddy!" Isabella yelled, barefoot on the tile. "Come quick." Mateo built a roller coaster out of chairs. Sophia laughed, standing. "You better hurry before someone breaks an arm." Daniel followed her inside, his chest warm and heavy at the same time. Later that night, after the kids were asleep and the house was quiet again, Sophia stood by the kitchen table, reading over her resume. Pages were spread out, red pen in hand. Her fingers trembled slightly. Daniel walked in with 2 mugs of tea. "You're still up." She took one gratefully. "I'm rewriting everything. It feels surreal." "You want help?" She looked at him for a beat too long, then nodded. "Okay, but no condescending comments." "Never," he said, sitting beside her. "But I might cry a little." She laughed, really laughed, and the sound stirred something deep in him. They worked together for nearly an hour, rewriting, editing, talking. Memories came up, old classes she used to teach, stories she used to love, students who had stayed in touch. Daniel listened like every detail mattered. When they finished, she leaned back, exhaling. "You'll get it," he said confidently. "I don't even know if I want the job as much as I want to know I can do it again." He nodded. Then this was already a victory. She looked at him. "You're different lately." "I'm trying," he said softly. "For them. For me. For whatever version of us still exists." She held his gaze. "Just don't lose yourself trying to become someone else." "I think I already did," he admitted. "But I'm done pretending." A long silence stretched between them. Then she said, almost in a whisper, "I missed this." Daniel's heart tightened. "Me too. But that doesn't mean we're okay," she added, her voice quieter. "I know," he said. "But this is enough for tonight." She nodded. And for a moment they just sat there. 2 people not quite broken, not quite healed. But when he returned home each night, alone, the apartment always reminded him what he had lost. No drawings on the fridge. No shoes by the door. No voices down the hall. He stood now in his kitchen, staring at the 2 coffee mugs on the counter. One he always used. The other hadn't been touched since Sophia left. He used to hate the chipped rim, used to joke about throwing it away. Now he washed it gently and left it out. His phone buzzed. A message from his financial advisor. "Final payment processed. Your remaining personal debt is cleared." Daniel read the message twice. He sat down, the weight of it sinking in. He had done it, quietly, on his own, without asking Sophia, without burdening the kids. He wasn't the same man anymore. He picked up his phone and began typing. "Hey, can we talk? Just you and me. Tonight." The typing dots appeared almost immediately, then stopped, then came back. Finally, her reply, "Okay, after the kids are asleep." The house was dim when he arrived. Soft lighting in the kitchen. The sound of a cartoon theme song fading from down the hallway. Sophia opened the door before he knocked. She didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. "They just went to bed," she said. He nodded. "Thank you for letting me come." She led him inside. The house smelled of laundry and cinnamon. Comfort, memory, home. They sat at the dining table across from one another. Neither spoke at first. Then Daniel reached into his coat and pulled out a folded paper. He placed it gently on the table. Sophia looked down. "What's this?" "My final loan statement," he said. "Debt's cleared." Her brows lifted slightly, surprised. "You did that fast." I've been working late, sold off some investments, canceled the condo. She blinked. The one overlooking the river? Yeah, didn't need it. It was never home anyway. She didn't touch the paper, but her eyes lingered. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to know. I'm not hiding anymore. She leaned back. So what now? Daniel hesitated. Now, I keep showing up. But I stop expecting anything from you. Her jaw tensed. I know I made choices that broke everything we had, he continued. And I've been trying so hard to prove that I've changed. But maybe what I needed to do all along was stop trying to fix the past and start building something real now with the people I hurt. Sophia didn't look at him. He kept going. I don't need you to forgive me. Tonight, I don't need you to say we'll ever go back. But I wanted to tell you face to face, I'm still here. No more running. The silence that followed felt thick, but not cold. She finally spoke, her voice low. You know what scared me most when you left? He looked up. What? That I didn't miss you. His breath caught. I missed the idea of you, the partner I thought I had, the father I wanted for my kids. But you, the real you, I didn't miss the lies, the long nights, the distance. She paused. He said nothing. But lately, I've started missing someone new, a version of you I never knew before, one who listens, who stays, who doesn't speak to win, just to understand. Daniel's eyes stung. I don't know if I love this new you, she added, but I don't dislike him. He smiled faintly. That's better than I deserve. She exhaled, softer now. You want tea? He blinked. Yeah, I'd like that. She rose and went to the kitchen. He watched her move, familiar, calm. The silence between them shifted from tension to something gentler. When she returned, she placed the mug in front of him, then sat beside him this time, not across. He stared at the tea, then looked at her. I almost forgot how this feels. She tilted her head. What? Being next to you without needing to explain everything. Just being here. Sophia looked down at her mug. Her thumb traced the rim in slow circles. Then, almost a whisper, she said, Matteo asked me if I thought you'd stay this time. What did you say? I told him I didn't know, but I hoped so. Daniel swallowed hard. He's not the only one. She glanced at him. I can't rewrite who I was, he said, but I'm doing everything I can to become someone I respect, and someone they can respect. Sophia's voice cracked gently. And what about someone I can respect? He looked at her, eyes raw. I'm hoping I'll earn that too. A silence passed between them. Not painful this time. Reflective. I have an interview tomorrow, she said quietly, for the teaching position. He smiled. That's incredible. I'm terrified. You'll be brilliant. She finally smiled, a real one. Soft, vulnerable, the kind he hadn't seen in years. Stay for 10 more minutes, she said. No talking, just tea. He nodded. I can do that. They sat in silence, shoulder to shoulder, sipping tea. And though no promises were spoken that night, no declarations or ultimatums exchanged, something happened in that quiet space. Forgiveness didn't arrive, but possibility did. I'm coming to the fundraiser tonight. If you try to keep me out, I'll speak anyway. You know I will. Camila. He stared at the screen until the words stopped pulsing in his chest. The gala was in 2 hours. A high-profile charity event hosted by his company. The first time he'd appear in public since his quiet withdrawal from the board. He wasn't even speaking, just attending, just showing face. But Camila, she'd always known how to find the cracks. And this time, if she showed up, he wasn't the only one who'd be affected. Sophia would be there, not as his partner, not as his date, as a guest of the foundation. She'd been invited after her volunteer work with literacy programs was featured in the paper. She didn't even know Camila had sent that message. Daniel tightened his grip on the phone and made the call. She picked up after the second ring. Hey, she said, calm and warm. Are you on your way? He hesitated. We need to talk. Before the event. Pause. Is something wrong? Can I come by? he asked. Another pause. Then, "The kids are with my sister. Come over." She opened the door already in her dress. Navy blue, elegant, simple. Her hair pulled back with soft curls falling down her shoulders. The moment Daniel saw her, his throat closed. She looked like she belonged on a different timeline, one where things hadn't broken. "You look—" He struggled for words. She crossed her arms. "Why do I feel like you're about to ruin my night?" "I hope not," he said, stepping inside. "But I need to tell you something." She didn't sit, just waited. He took a breath. "Camila's coming tonight." Sophia blinked once. "Why?" "She wasn't invited. But she says she'll speak if I try to keep her out." Sophia's face didn't change, but her posture shifted. Slight, controlled, like someone preparing for impact. "And what is she going to say?" she asked quietly. Daniel looked down. "Whatever she can to damage what's left of me." Sophia walked slowly to the counter, picking up her clutch. "Let her talk." He frowned. "What?" She turned to him. "If she wants to humiliate herself in a room full of donors and press, let her. I'm not afraid of her. And I'm not afraid of what people think anymore." Daniel stepped forward. I didn't want you caught in the middle. I've been in the middle for years, Daniel. Between who you were and who you pretended to be. Tonight, I'm not standing in the middle of anything. I'm standing beside my own name." He stared at her. "I'm not asking you to defend me," she said softly. "But I'm not running either." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll be there. And I'll protect you however I can." Sophia gave him a small smile. "You protect the truth. That's all that matters now." The ballroom glowed with gold chandeliers and the low hum of string instruments. Tables were covered in white linens and glass centerpieces that shimmered like stars. People smiled, networked, toasted glasses of champagne. Sophia walked in alone, shoulders squared, eyes steady. She'd always known how to carry herself like she belonged, even when she was breaking inside. Daniel spotted her across the room. He was already mid-conversation with a board member, but he excused himself immediately. She met him halfway. "Nervous?" she asked. He nodded once. "Only about her." "I'm not," Sophia replied. "You shouldn't be either." He offered her his arm. She didn't take it, but she walked beside him. The night moved in slow circles, introductions, speeches, polite applause. And then, just as dessert was being served, the tension shifted. Camila entered. Her dress was red, deliberate. All eyes turned. Whispers stirred. She walked directly to the stage, heels sharp against marble. Someone tried to intercept her. She waved them off. Sophia turned to Daniel. "Let her speak." He didn't move. His hands balled into fists at his sides. Camila took the microphone. "I know I'm not on the program," she said, voice calm and cool. "But I think tonight is the perfect time to speak about the dangers of appearances, about how some people use charity to cover the mess they leave behind." Gasps, murmurs. Sophia stood. The room turned, but she didn't run. She walked, straight to the front, straight to the stage. Camila's eyes widened. Sophia took another mic from a nearby host, who looked too stunned to stop her. She faced the room, voice clear. "I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but since the floor's open..." A hush fell. "I'd like to say something about healing," she continued. "About what it means to rebuild not just your public image but your private one. About what it takes to admit you were wrong, and what it costs to forgive." Daniel watched, stunned. "I spent years in silence," Sophia said, "trying to protect a family that was falling apart. Tonight, I'm here not because everything is fixed, but because I chose to stop hiding. Because I chose to write a new chapter." She turned, briefly meeting Camila's eyes. "You can say whatever you want," she said, softer now. "But we're not afraid of your truth. We're just not living in it anymore." Camila opened her mouth, then closed it. Something in her eyes cracked. Not rage, not defiance, something else. She walked off the stage, and Sophia, without trembling, without faltering, handed back the mic and returned to her table. She sat beside Daniel, who stared at her like she was made of something he couldn't touch. "I don't think I've ever loved anyone more than I do right now," he whispered. She didn't look at him, but she whispered back, "Then don't waste it." And he didn't. Daniel glanced at her from the corner of his eye. She was staring out the window, her expression unreadable. The streetlights passed in waves across her face. Gold, then shadow, then gold again. Like the moment was flickering between past and present. He cleared his throat. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer right away. Then finally, her voice soft but sharp. "You should have stopped her before she stepped on that stage." "I tried," he said. "She wouldn't listen. She never did." Sophia nodded slowly, then turned to him. "But I listened. For years. To you. To your excuses. And when I finally speak for myself, for us, you look at me like I did something impossible." Daniel's grip on the wheel tightened. "You did do something impossible. You turned a public attack into a moment of strength. I didn't even know you had that in you." Her jaw clenched. "You didn't know because you never saw me." "Not really." He didn't answer, because she was right. The car pulled into the driveway. He stopped the engine but didn't move. Sophia reached for the door handle, then paused. "You said something back there, after I sat down." He nodded. "Yeah. You said you've never loved anyone more than you do right now." Daniel turned to her. "I meant it." She met his gaze finally, fully. "Then show me. Not with flowers or dinners. Show me with time, with choices, with how you treat our children, with how you treat yourself." He leaned in, not closing the distance, just resting there, close enough for the moment to breathe. "I don't want to love you just because I lost you," he said. "I want to love you now, while you're strong, and angry, and alive. I want to love the real you." She didn't pull away, but she didn't answer either. Instead, she opened the door and stepped out. Daniel sat there, watching her walk toward the house. The porch light came on automatically. She paused at the top of the stairs and turned. "You can come inside if you want," she said. He exhaled. "For the night?" She shook her head. "No, just for a tea. A quiet one." He smiled, bittersweet. "That's enough." Inside, the house was dim. The kids were still with her sister, and for the first time in what felt like forever, the space belonged to just the two of them. No noise, no distractions, just the long shadows of two people still learning how to exist in the same room. She moved easily through the kitchen, reaching for mugs, boiling water. Daniel stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets. "I thought about leaving," she said suddenly. "For good. Starting over somewhere else." He didn't breathe. "What stopped you?" he asked. She looked up at him. "Mateo. He told me he didn't want to learn new streets, that he was still learning how to find his way home." Daniel swallowed hard. "I'm still learning too." She poured the tea, slid his mug across the counter. "Then start by not getting lost again." He stepped forward, gently touched the side of the mug with both hands, as if it might slip through his fingers. "I was wrong," he said. She tilted her head. "About what?" "About you needing me," he said. "You never did. But I think I needed you to remember who I was supposed to be." Her eyes shimmered, but she blinked them clear. "Then become that man. And stay him." They drank in silence after that. No more confessions. No more past. Just the warmth of shared space, the kind that doesn't ask for anything. When the tea was gone, he stood. "I'll go." She walked him to the door. Before he opened it, he turned. "Can I see you tomorrow?" She smiled faintly. "I think you've earned breakfast." He laughed under his breath. "I'll bring pancakes." "No blueberries," she warned. "No blueberries," he promised. Then he stepped into the night, the cool air meeting him like a breath he'd been holding for years. And for the first time in a long time, the door behind him didn't close with finality. It closed with hope. No blueberries. He smiled faintly to himself, remembering Sophia's warning. As he arranged the pancakes on a plate, the sound of soft footsteps crept into the hallway. Mateo appeared first, hair wild, blanket still wrapped around his shoulders like a cape. He rubbed his eyes. "You're here early," he mumbled. Daniel turned to him, beaming. "Told you I'd bring breakfast." Mateo looked at the plate and gave a slow nod of approval. "You remembered. No blueberries." "Your mom was very clear," Daniel said with a grin. Sophia entered next, tying her robe. Her expression was neutral, but her eyes lingered on the table. "You made coffee?" she asked. He lifted a mug. "Exactly how you like it. 3 drops of milk, 1 of courage." That made her laugh. Quiet, but genuine. "I think I'm still asleep," she said, sitting down. Isabella came bounding in seconds later, already mid-song, spinning in circles until she nearly collided with the table. "Pancakes!" she gasped dramatically, as if discovering treasure. "Is this a dream?" Daniel knelt to catch her mid-spin. "Nope, very real. But if you want to sing a thank you song, I won't stop you." She cleared her throat. "Thank you, Pancake King. Your syrup is so sweet, and your hugs are—" Sophia raised a hand. "Finish that after breakfast." They all sat together, and for a moment it was simple. No tension, no apologies, just warmth. But it didn't last long. Halfway through breakfast, Daniel's phone buzzed on the counter. Once, twice, then again. He ignored it at first, but on the 4th buzz, Sophia gave him a look. "You should check it," she said. He stood and walked over slowly, screen facing him. Unknown number. One message. "We're not finished. You owe me more than money. You owe me truth. And I'm not done talking." He stared at the words, the pancakes turning cold in his hands. "What is it?" Sophia asked. Daniel hesitated. "It's her again," he said quietly. Mateo looked up, confused. "The red dress lady?" Sophia shot him a warning glance. Daniel sat back down, phone face down. Nothing important. But the mood had shifted. Mateo sensed it. Isabella stopped humming. Sophia went quiet. Daniel cleared his throat. "Listen, I didn't want to say anything today. I wanted this to be just ours. But I think I need to tell you. She's not letting go." Sophia sipped her coffee. "What does she want?" Daniel sighed. "Control. Tension. I don't know anymore. She keeps threatening to make things public. Tell stories that may not even be true." Sophia looked him in the eye. "Is there anything she can say that I don't already know?" He met her gaze. "No." "Then let her talk." Daniel leaned in, voice lower. "She's cruel, Sophia. She twists facts. She'll bring the kids into it if it means hurting me." Sophia's hand went to Isabella's hair, gently brushing it back. "Then let her try. You've already survived the worst version of yourself. What else is there to be afraid of?" Daniel's chest tightened. "I just got you back," he said. "Even just this. Even just breakfast. I don't want to lose it." She tilted her head. "Then don't." He swallowed hard, voice cracking slightly. "How?" She looked around the table, at the crumbs, at their children, at the morning light finally pouring in. "By not giving up when it gets uncomfortable again." He nodded slowly. Mateo interrupted with a full mouth. "Can we go to the park today?" Sophia smiled. "Sure. After chores." Isabella cheered. "Can Daddy come?" All eyes went to Daniel. He didn't hesitate. "I'll be there." Sophia looked at him, long and hard. "Then leave the phone at home." His heart dropped slightly. "What if she—" "You said you're here," she cut in gently. "So be here." He reached for the phone, stood, and walked to the drawer near the sink. He opened it and placed the phone inside, then shut it, and something in the air shifted again, this time back toward peace. Isabella clapped. "Park time after pancakes." Daniel smiled. "Best deal I've ever made." They spent the rest of the morning cleaning, folding laundry, and racing to see who could put away toys fastest. At the park, Daniel pushed the swings, caught Isabella when she jumped too soon, and helped Mateo climb a structure he once swore was impossible. Sophia sat on a bench watching it all. The man in front of her wasn't the man she married. But maybe that was a good thing, because this man didn't make promises he couldn't keep. He just kept showing up. And sometimes that was the bravest love of all. Matteo sat nearby, sketching something in his notebook, a quiet habit he'd picked up lately, one Daniel hadn't dared to interrupt. Sophia stood in the kitchen, her hands resting on the counter, watching them. Watching him, it still surprised her how natural he looked here now. How gentle, how focused. The Daniel she used to beg to come home early now asked for extra time with their children. Still, she couldn't forget how deep the wounds had gone, and how fast they could reopen. "Isa, go wash your hands before dinner," she called. Isabella groaned. "But the glue is still fun." "Now, little astronaut," Daniel said, tickling her side gently. She squealed and ran down the hall. Sophia wiped her hands on a towel and walked into the room, her eyes landing on the drawing in Matteo's lap. "What are you working on?" He flipped it shut quickly. "Nothing." She raised an eyebrow. "Matteo?" He hesitated, then opened it just enough for her to peek. It was a picture of all four of them, holding hands, smiling, but above them was a crack in the sky, like a tear, like something had split their world and was trying to mend itself. Sophia blinked. "That's beautiful." Matteo shrugged, his voice small. "I just drew what I felt." She knelt beside him. "Thank you for showing me." Daniel watched quietly from where he sat. There was a heaviness in Matteo's simplicity, one that reminded him how much children carried without knowing how to name it. After dinner, when the kids were tucked in, Daniel lingered in the hallway, unsure. "Sophia,